Hello everyone, I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. So this time, as title says, I have already predicted the future of coronavirus, about which I'd like to tell you a story. So first of all, the conclusion of this episode is that what title says, which means I have already predicted the future of coronavirus, and where I expect it is not 2 years before. So I'm sorry, I occasionally stop speaking because what I'm speaking is a non-native language for me. So my native language, or I'm a native speaker of Japanese. So as you know, Japanese people are bad at speaking English language, which is why I'm bad at speaking English anyway. So going back to the original title, so where I expected the future of coronavirus is October, or in the middle of October in 2020, on which I expected or predicted the future of coronavirus. So to show that, well, if you'd like to take a look at the evidence, whether I really expected the future of coronavirus or not. So please access to the description column of this episode, and from on which I'm going to write the link to the tweets, which means I made two tweets in Twitter, and I wrote my expectation, or I wrote the result of my future prediction about coronavirus in Japanese language, and so please, if you'd like to read what is written, so if you'd like to read what is written on the predicting tweets, please use Google search. Oh no, please not Google search. What I'd like you to use is Google Translation for translating what is written in Japanese into English language, or if you are not native speaker of English language, please use your own native language for understanding what is written. And in short, what is written is that I predicted the future, and the future of coronavirus is to coexist with human beings. I will tell you again. So my expectation, or the result of my prediction is that coronavirus and human beings coexist together side by side, which is the figure of the future of coronavirus and human societies, which is what I expected in 2020, on October in 2020. So if you'd like to know what date I predicted that future, if you'd like to know on what date I predicted such a future, please take a look at the tweets, and you can understand. You can come to know on what date I predicted that future. So I said tweets, but I tweeted on the same date. So please do not worry about that stuff. Please do not worry about whether which tweet was tweeted earlier dates, or on earlier dates or not. So those tweets are made on the same date. So why I thought that coronavirus and human beings are going to coexist together is generally, or if you think about the figure, or if you think about what viruses wants to achieve, if you think about what viruses want to achieve, you can easily understand the future of this fighting, of this war between coronavirus and human beings. So first of all, let me tell you the purpose of of creatures. Well, let me tell you the general purpose of living things. Apart from people who want to commit suicide, people want to generate their own copies, or their own species, or their own people. So in the case of human beings, they want to reproduce themselves, and they want to hold diversities among their group, or among their people, or among their races. So, which means, maybe if even if you are a man, and even if you're a woman, you can understand that, because most of you have sexual desires. So just this episode is this episode is partly related to sexual stuff. Anyway, so most of you have sexual desires, which means generally speaking, you want to have sexual intercourses with others, which is how you can create offsprings, or you can create children. You can give birth to children, or you can give birth to your descendants by having sex each other. Men and women can have sex each other, and by which or through which children are born from their parents. And this is a case to other creatures. So if you're talking about for example in the case of amoeba, that's a different case. So that is, of course, in the case of amoeba, that is a different case. And what I want you to know is that the manner of reproductions are different between amoeba and human beings. Amoeba can not distribution. Amoeba separates themselves, which is how they reproduce their own copies. And in the case of mammals, for example, so in the case of, for example, horses, or in the case of what should I do? What should I use? So for example, in another case is dog, cat. Anyway, your pets, for example, if your pets are dogs and cats, they have sex each other, and so do cats. And for example, in the case of reptiles, for example, if in the case of lizards, and in the case of snakes, for example, they reproduce, or they bear eggs, or they reproduce eggs, by which they give birth to their own descendants. So by which they give their own offsprings, or their children. So like which almost all creatures want to make their own copies, or almost all of the creatures want to reproduce themselves. So this is a case to the viruses. This is a case to viruses. Generally speaking. So and of course, in the case of viruses, the manner of reproduction is different from human beings. So what viruses require is the cells of animals. I will tell you again. So if viruses want to, or if viruses need the cells of animals, or viruses need, so in this case, coronavirus needs the cells of human beings to reproduce themselves, or to duplicate themselves. So this is the point. Viruses want the cells of animals to copy themselves. This is the point. I will tell you again. This is the point. So which entails that viruses do not want to kill their hosts, or viruses do not want to kill human beings. This is a point. This is another point. Logically, entailed, or logically proved by the facts that viruses need the cells of animals to reproduce themselves. So which means, if viruses killed human beings, for example, they lose their own manners to create their own copies. But, what viruses want is to create their copies or themselves. So they want to increase the number of themselves. This is, and so do human beings. We want to increase the number of our kinds, which means, human beings want to increase the number of human beings, which is what I'm telling you. So, and what I'm also telling you is, this is a case that, human beings want to create themselves, and viruses also want to create themselves, and these needs or these requirements or these demands are just the same in the way that they want to create themselves. So in the case of viruses need the cells of animals, or in the case of coronavirus needs the cells of human beings to create the copies of themselves, which is why coronaviruses can't. If coronavirus wants to create themselves, they can't. Well, the virus can't kill human beings, which is why if they want to increase their numbers in the most sufficient manner, they have to coexist, which means coronavirus can't kill human beings to increase the number of coronavirus. Does it make sense? So the point is that for coronavirus, in putting yourself in the shoes of coronavirus, you should not kill human beings, or it's smart not to kill human beings. Which means if you are coronavirus, what you'd like to use is to have sex with beautiful women. So I used words suitable for the reproduction of human beings. So if you are coronavirus, what you want is to use the cells of human beings to make the copies of yourselves, which is why you'd like to use human beings for yourself. So to use human beings, you want human beings to survive for yourselves by understanding which maybe coming to this phase, I think you could understand what I'm telling you, which means if you'd like to evolve, and if you'd like to create as many copies as possible, if you're coronavirus and if you'd like to make as many copies as possible, so the smartest way is to coexist with human beings peacefully. This is the smartest way to increase the number of coronavirus itself. So coming to this phase, I think coming to this phase in this episode, you could understand that so the final feature, I don't know how to say that, finally the coronavirus is going to coexist together. So is there any so maybe your question might be is there any premonition, or is there any furtive sign indicating such a coexistence? So the answer is yes, because maybe some of you have heard that COVID-19 or coronavirus, in the case of some people, in the case of some patients, some patients do not have any troubles caused by coronavirus, or which means coronavirus spares some people and kill other people, which means some people have no trouble, or some people have no symptoms, even though they are infected with coronavirus, which means in in the case of some people, coronavirus do not harm those host people, or the coronavirus do not harm people. Coronavirus uses as their hosts, which means the fact that some people are not harmed by coronavirus means that coronavirus may be trying to coexist with human beings, which is what I expected on October in 2020, which is maybe longer than half a year passed since the kickstart of the pandemic of coronavirus. The pandemic of coronavirus started in the beginning of 2020, and longer than half a year later, or maybe around longer than half a year after the kickstart of the pandemic, I made those tweets. Whose links are written on the description column of this episode. So anyway, going back to the original topic, which is I predicted the future of coronavirus. So if you understand that future, so the coming new strains are going to be safer, which is what you can easily expect, because coronavirus do not want to kill human beings. Coronavirus doesn't want to kill human beings, which is why including Omicron strain, if there are other new strains are found, for example, if new strains are discovered after this recording of this episode, for example. So I'm recording this episode on January in 2022, and the pandemic have lasted for almost 2 years, and if there are new strains of coronavirus, new strains of coronavirus which are newly discovered after this time, so maybe their infectivities must be higher, but their ability to kill human beings would be lower, because coronavirus doesn't want to kill human beings, which is what I'd like you to know. Which is why maybe the number of infected people is going to the number of infected people is going to increase. But what I'd like you to know is that the purpose of coronavirus is to coexist with human beings, which is my prediction, or which is what I predicted, which is what I'd like you to know. In that sense, coronavirus is on the way of evolution, or the coronavirus is evolving now, right now. So it's on the way, or it's on the path of evolution until the adaptation into human societies, or into the bodily conditions of human beings. So that's it. So maybe I think the pandemic is going to end in this year, which is I expected. So if my expectation was wrong, I'm sorry for my wrong expectation, but I don't think there is anybody who can make correct expectation. Anyway, so that's it. Thank you very much for your listening, and good luck for the until the end of the pandemic. See you.